Phenomena. Phenomena. Phenomena.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, some children, welcome back
I
to
sure
another
hope not.
episode of
Don't Be So Brewed. With Scott's White Girl beer.
I gotta try it.
It matches your coffee taste.
It's fair time. Funnel cake ale. I mean, how could you not try that, right?
Right? I hope they could hear you over there because I agreed.
Oh, no way, dude.
Not my thing.
Imagine that.
Go figure.
Not my thing. Good thing you got a sixer of that.
It's light, but it's...
I mean, it kind of
now.
seems like your thing.
It's coming through now.
It kind of seems like your thing, though.
There's a lot of white sugar in it. I got a special beer for you.
Great.
Are you ready for it?
No, I'm probably not ready for it
go.
because it has to do with... I knew it.
It's even orange.
Which is so funny. Did anyone watch the game on Saturday?
I did.
Yeah, when Texas got their ass whooped, it's fine. It's fine.
I'm sure it tastes
It's
good.
fine. Scott, your laugh has gotten really strange. Okay, for those of you who are watching, so by the way, because we didn't really preface you guys at all with this, so I apologize. This is kind of how this show goes. So people are watching us. This will be on Facebook and YouTube and all that. For those of you that are watching, you already know that we have some people here. So we have some very awesome guests with us. We have Jennifer and Amy. They have their new podcast that they've started called Super Girls. Is that right?
Hey, I like that too.
With a Z.
Starter
Girlz, sorry. Well, they're Super Girls and they started Starter Girlz.
That's
With
a-
a Z,
That's a good recovery.
right?
Have another sip of your beer.
Cheers. I knew it was going to be this. I
We're
had
gonna
a
do
feeling.
drinking games on this episode, right?
I love it.
That's probably better than that one over there, so I'll take it.
So why don't you introduce yourselves? Tell everybody a little bit about you. And
Yeah, give us a fun fact.
Okay.
No pressure.
Other than randomly getting invited to a podcast.
I know.
They're like,
Hi, it's nice to meet you. You're drinking beer, and we're friends now. This is great.
this is what happens.
Yeah, Jennifer's the mastermind behind our podcast initially, but we worked together and have been entrepreneurs, me for 14 years, her for 18 years, and we just got excited about the idea of there's a lot of podcasts out there specifically for men that are entrepreneurs, but we wanted to have something that was specifically for women so that they could grab that advice, take it, and really run with it. But we didn't want to just have it be entrepreneurs either, so we thought let's just make it a little bit more generic where it can just be starting anything, whether it's a project, whether it's a brand, whether it's,
driving like commitment and accountability to you made a decision, let's help you follow through.
Yes, exactly. And even just for people to have some sort of something that they're starting. I mean, even if it's a mom that says, you know what, I want to go couch to 5K, or an artist that has really never, taken it to the next level. Whatever that looks like, we want to really empower and inspire those women.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, and for me, a lot of it was really just, when I was looking at doing this, I really wanted to find a way to reach more people. And I knew my big thing is, I always say changing people, you can be a needle in a haystack. If you get one person at a time, it takes a lot of time to do one at a time, right? Mm-hmm. And by doing what we're doing here, we can actually reach more people on a bigger level and help, change them. And two, as a mom, I am a mom, and I'm almost actually an empty nester. My youngest is 15 now. And so, and he doesn't need me any longer.
I don't even know how it's possible for her, but okay. I'll believe it.
I'm on the cusp, and I think about it. Like, we're right at 7th grade, and I'm like, after next year, there's only 4 years left.
Right. Well, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now.
Yeah.
So,
Still shaking his head because he's like, yeah, right.
right.
They always return.
I hear that. I haven't had that yet, so I think we're doing okay. But I do have one left at home, and so a lot of women that are my age, they've been moms for a really long time, and then after the kids leave, they sort of get stuck in this pattern. Like, what do I do after being a mom? Right? What do you do? And so I kind of look at this as a way that we can empower women, but not even just young ones, get these moms that think that life is over for them. And to me, it's never too late to start something new. Right?
That's right.
So that's what we're about. We're about empowering women and encouraging them do big, great things.
That's awesome.
I love it. How long has this idea been brewing to now that you guys have kind of executed and launched this thing? Like, what did that timeline look like for you guys?
Well, because she's task oriented, it was like really little.
Awesome. No, listen, we've met people that are talking.
Yeah.
We've met people, and you know, I'm sure you guys have it too. And everyone talks about wanting to start a podcast and do all this stuff. And it's, I get it. There are things that can come up. The very first time we tried to record an episode, we did not have Zool, so we tried to do it on our own. And
I think we've experienced very similar situations.
Yeah.
I watched your clip earlier today, and how you went through like 6 times.
Yeah.
We set out and we were like, all right, January 1st, we're going to do this. I mean, I went to Micro Center. I bought all the gear. We went to his office. We're like trying to hook this stuff up, and we cannot get the damn thing to work.
yeah, I was like, I got GarageBand on my Mac. I can do this. Somebody told me, I'm like, it's easy. It's a piece of cake.
USB, I mean, like nothing's working. I'm like, this is ridiculous. We're getting online. There's like not enough good information. That was like a whole nother story.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, screw this. And he's like, I've got a patient that does this kind of stuff. Maybe he could show us what to do. And then we ended up here, which has been just an absolute blessing.
It's awesome.
That's phenomenal.
That's awesome.
I know.
Still don't know how to work any of the equipment.
Yeah,
No.
we're
I've even
learning.
broken some.
But yeah, we basically just show up, and then this is what we get to do, which is always awesome. We love and appreciate it. But it's been one of those, we've been to some networking things where people who podcast get together, and I would say probably a third of the crowd has a live podcast that they're doing. The other third is kind of interested and they want to learn more, and the other third like has this really good idea, but there's just no execution, which I'm sure is something that, being what you guys talk about, I'm sure it's something that's in there, because I'm always interested to see the journey and how kind of the backstory went for people, because sometimes it's like, this just kind of happened. That's what we were talking to you about with our show, is it just kind of happened, and we enjoyed the process, and we've had fun doing it, and it's been bigger than we really ever could have imagined, surprisingly. And that's the other thing is, like, sometimes people are really surprised. I think that's one of the things that you guys will see is, like, it gives you a really good talking point for people, but they're also shocked sometimes. They're like, are you guys still doing that? And you're like, yeah, actually we are. Every Wednesday. You should watch.
Gee, thanks for watching. But it's amazing because it happens in kind of all facets. I mean, and it's a comfortable icebreaker. So if somebody has seen it and they come and approach you and they ask about it, it's like they don't have to figure out what to talk to you about.
Yeah, they already know more about
really
you
fascinating.
than right. You're like a celebrity, sorta, right?
But
It's
you
that
gotta
kind of
you gotta
feel.
be yourself, right? Because
Yeah.
otherwise, it's like you got this like radio personality.
Well, yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. So we had Carrie Stenson on, who actually lives in Richardson. He was the guy that was inside of the Barney costume for like 20 years.
Wow.
And we met him through this thing, and we brought him on. And I remember I had coffee with him, and he was like, you have to realize, whether you like it or not, you now have a persona. You're considered a character, like. And I was like, man, thank goodness I'm myself on this. Otherwise, I'm like, I wouldn't want somebody to see me out in public and be like, I knew that wasn't you. And I'm like, no, pretty much what you see is what you get with this one.
It's like, I'm not an actor. This is Daniel.
No, I'm like, because when he said that, it was just one of those things that you don't really think about. You're just like, well, we're going to do this and it's fun and we're just kind of goofing half the time. And then, we bring people on that everyone knows. I think Kyle's one of the more interesting ones. Kyle's a pretty well-known guy in our network, and he runs a place called the Wine Authority. And we got him on here, and he told some story that people that have known him for 5-10 years had no idea, where he fell off of a mountain, basically, free climbing. Because free solo was kind of a big topic, and he was like, oh, yeah, like, that happened to me. I fell, and we're like, what? Like, fell off, broke a bunch of
totally caught
bones.
us off guard.
Yeah. Wow. Insane. So I also love it. I think one of the things, I don't know if you guys are going to have guests or not, but I feel like I've learned more efficient ways to get to know someone, like, legitimately, like, very quickly.
Yes.
Like, I've heard some amazing stories where I'm like, oh, I need to bring you on my podcast. Like, you're so fascinating. And I'm like, but you know how some people are. They don't necessarily want to put themselves out there or do anything. And so it could be tough, for sure.
I know. What kind of fun, like, questions do you guys use the most with your guests?
I use a lot of really goofy ones.
We could start off right now.
Yeah, that's a great segue.
Get to know you.
I
opened
promise
myself
you,
up for this.
that was not set up, because everyone who watches us knows that's kind of the first thing that we do when we bring guests on. I'm like, that was actually perfect.
So one of our favorites is 20 questions.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so you guys could kind of go through this. Some are going to be more like quick one-word answers. Some are going to be like thinking about it, I've got a story.
Okay,
So
perfect.
we'll start off like super easy. iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Okay.
Good.
We passed the first test.
Dark mode or light mode?
Dark.
Yes. It's a new
Dark.
thing. If you don't know anything about the new update,
I'm in dark mode. I'm good.
Yeah, dark mode.
I was about to say, I posted it on my Instagram. I saw a lot of people like, if I wanted dark mode, I'd get an Android. I'm like, okay. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm like, I kind of like it. It's different. There's some things I like. There's some things I don't like. But I was like, I had to give it a shot. I think that using your own Animoji as emojis is my favorite part. I don't know if you guys saw that. Like you can. So whenever you set up your, so you have like your Animoji that looks like you.
Oh no, that's.
And so whenever you do that, you can use it as like the crying emoji.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah, so you can literally
learn something new every day.
Always.
See, I feel so old around him.
Well, I'm feeling
that's 'cause
that
you
we
Are you a millennial?
No, I'm actually not.
He's on the.
Are you a exennial?
Yeah, I was about to say I'm a whatever it is, like the group that's in
that
between.
too.
Yes, and we're awesome. I know.
1978. I know.
No,
Yep.
I'm 78 as well.
Okay.
He's much younger than us.
Well, you can be an exennial if you would like to be.
It's why we get along. No, it's this group.
it.
It's this group that's in between
Really?
millennials. Yeah, because I had.
It's like we can't relate with anybody.
I had some of
We're
the throwback
hard
stuff, but
workers.
I've also grown up in some of the newer age stuff
Yeah.
too. So it's like I grew up on both sides of that. Like I'm kind of in between.
Yeah.
Not this just like millennial where it's like I only grew up with technology and all I've ever known is iPhones. It's like
Correct.
no, not quite. You know.
Yeah, we used to go play outside.
Remember, I grew up in
Right.
Oklahoma, Scott.
Like
We were a
sports
little
outside.
behind.
Yeah.
I know.
I was a latchkey kid in the
I
90s.
understand, man. I get it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Except Oklahoma whooped that ass this weekend. I will keep bringing that up.
You did have your moment, but you still have your shot.
Moment?
But you still have your
They're
shot.
ranked top 5 in the nation, but they had their moment.
Cheers.
I love it.
Okay, so one that we like to ask
Says
everybody
the
that comes
Giants fan.
on, based on our first episode, is how do you eat a corn dog?
On the stick.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so you get it from Fletcher's, right? State
Yeah,
Fair time.
Uh-huh.
I don't eat them enough, apparently.
Apparently not. So like mustard, ketchup, or
Yeah,
Are you a
Yeah.
dipper? Are you a
Mustard.
zigzagger?
Yeah,
Mustard.
zigzagger.
See?
Nah, I'm just,
Just sufficient.
dip and go.
yeah.
You guys will have to go back and listen to our first episode. It's quite entertaining.
I think we're going to have to.
That's kind of how our podcast started. We both had ridiculous corn dog stories, and so
And mine happened like day of.
yeah.
Yeah.
And mine was at the
Awesome.
state
Never
fair.
believe what happened.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
And he was just like, "Oh, I got to tell you about this people watching situation." I was like, "You have a corn dog story? I have a corn dog story. I'm so glad we have a
It was like
podcast
right after
together."
Step Brothers. I was like, we might have just been best friends.
I love it.
What was your first car?
A Nissan Pulsar,
Really?
1984.
With the wagon piece on the back and the T-tops?
No,
or
no, it was like a little sports car. It was a lemon.
Oh, I know what it is.
A little teeny lemon car.
You don't know what it is, do you?
It was a stick too.
Probably not. If I saw it, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, Scott's a car guy, like big time
Really?
car guy." Oh
Oh,
yeah.
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 I've got issues.
I had a 1979 avocado green Oldsmobile.
God, I was hoping she was going to say shaggin' wagon.
I
Yeah.
I
'Cause
cannot
Scott would've just
remember.
lost it.
2 doors or 4 doors?
4 doors.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So it was an old lady car.
It was an old lady. The lady who owned it before me only had like 15,000 miles
That's when
on
your dad
it.
came back and was like, look.
Mm-hmm. She
it's
drove it
not
to the
pretty.
store, and that was
She
it.
drove it to
It's-
the
it's
It's
store.
not pretty, but it's perfect. It's huge.
It was in perfect
Mm-hmm.
condition. It was wicked. And this is like, I'm like wearing bell
And now
bottoms
she's
and
still
stuff.
wearing green. Like, she loves it.
I
You know, it's
love
just
this
ingrained in
car.
her.
Listen, some people have their colors. You know how that
I
goes.
do.
Oh my goodness.
I get it.
I got one while
Alright,
you're doing that. So
sure.
since it's National Dessert Day, because we always love to talk about national
Oh.
It's
days.
a National Dessert Day.
It is.
It's also Columbus Day.
That's old.
That is all.
Hundreds of years ago. We're talking right now.
None of the millennials
National
like that
Dessert
guy
Day.
anymore. Are you kidding me?
Actually, they don't.
It's
The
They have
memes
another
are,
story
that
are
we
learned.
wicked
yeah.
today.
They're like, that is so not true.
See, I grew up in the Northeast, where history happened. So there wasn't
Yeah.
like New York history or anything like that. It was
Oh.
just, we called it history.
Yeah.
We didn't
All
have
the
New
good
York
stuff
history
happened for
either,
you.
but I grew up in Oklahoma, so
That's right.
I'll just steer into the skid for
history,
you.
right?
Yeah, right. But since it's National Dessert Day, like, what's your go-to? Like, number one, gotta have it.
We just talked about this today, did we not? Mine
Perfect.
would be Andy's custard.
Woo!
By
What are you
far.
gonna get?
Good one.
What do you get when you go there?
Either a Boot Daddy or one of the butter pecans.
Ooh, okay.
You know what a Boot Daddy is?
No.
That was my next
Oh my
question.
goodness. Oreos, hot fudge, and caramel on custard. Does that not sound good?
That does sound pretty good.
It's amazing.
Boot
Terrible
Daddy.
for you, but amazing.
That'd make like a hell of a brick. You know?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I like gummies, like all gummies.
Like CBD gummies.
I was about to say, I'm like, wow, we just went for it. I'm like, what
Got the green
kind of
going
gummies
on.
we talking about here? Okay, we're going to cut this real quick. We'll be right back.
I don't eat the CBD ones, I eat the real ones.
So like gummy worms, gummy bears, any of that, like
Yes,
you're in.
yes. I even asked my husband about this the other day because I was like, are they all really strong, or do they have some that you could like actually like eat a whole bunch of gummies and like not be like too worried about them?
No, that's a
And-
terrible idea.
Yeah.
You gotta mix it in. I have the same problem, right? Like, how can you eat just one gummy bear?
You can't.
That's like torture, right?
It's like trying
why
to
would
eat
you do
one
that
way?
To somebody?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care how good it makes you
Well,
feel.
it's called planning. You have to plan out for the stuff that you want to
but
have,
Oh my
but you
God,
don't do that of
But
the
you eat this
so-called gummies.
but
You don't
you-
eat a bunch of
But
those.
you eat this piece of candy, and then 20 minutes later, you've got munchies. What do you want? More candy.
I know.
Not everyone gets the munchies, Scott.
Really?
Yeah,
That's unfortunate.
it's true.
I
Not
didn't
everyone
know
gets
that.
the munchies. Everybody's response is different. And everybody's metabolism is different.
That is true.
Some people take
I'm living proof.
some people take a long time and a lot more. Some people don't take a lot. Someone that is in my family who I will not mention, the first time that they ever did it, they ate an entire package of some brownie or something like that. So, as you know, most of them are like 10 milligrams or whatever per. So he ate 40, as you can imagine. There were like 4 pieces in a thing.
I know it's a male.
And then he did a couple pulls off of a pen, and he was on another planet and was terrified that he was going to die. And he's
Wow.
like, I'll never do it again. And I'm like, that's why you got to be smart. You can't eat a whole bag thinking like, man, these gummies are so good.
That's what I'm talking about,
Hey,
people.
let me get your pen. Let me take a couple of pulls real quick. I'm not eating enough.
Yeah. Terrible
Yeah.
idea, from what I've been told. Not that I would know or anything. This is just hearsay.
Not at all.
Yeah. I wouldn't know anything about that. See, this is how this podcast goes. Now people know.
So
They're like,
that's
now we're
super-
talking to a bunch of potheads on here. They're like, I never would have
No,
guessed.
we're pot eaters, not potheads.
I'm just educated. I would never know anything.
So, are you more of a gummy bear, gummy worm? Does it not matter?
My favorite are gummy peach penguins.
Gummy peach penguins.
Wow,
That
what a
sounds
very
like-
specific.
Very.
That sounds like gas
seen that.
station food. That sounds like, you know.
You can't get
second
these at the gas
aisle-
station.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Is this
No,
like a
you have to
mail
go to
order?
like like specialty, like candy
So
store,
you were
like
mail
buy the
ordering
bin.
gummies before it became popular to mail order gummies.
I guess
You could
so.
have started the most amazing business. I mean, you probably have so
See.
much background in it already.
See, now you have to find your niche market of people who like to eat special gummies and like those, and then you just meld them together.
Put them
and
together.
You
Here's what
got
I'm
'em.
thinking. Every pack.
See, these were the business ideas.
Every
that we were
pack
talking
has
about.
love
one
it.
special gummy, but you can eat the whole. But you have to eat the whole pack.
Well, you're gonna eat the whole pack if you want to find the one.
Well, that's exactly
Somebody's like, "Can I have one of those?" You're like, "No."
right. Like, get your own pack.
One of them is special, and I would like to have it. There's this. It's like a prize in each box. That's what you're looking for.
It's
You're like,
Cracker Jacks. We'll call it pot jacks. You know,
Jags, there you go.
we're copywriting that right now. No one steal that.
make a new pot.
And this is what happens
That
on this
kind of would
podcast.
solve the problem, though, right? Because you wouldn't have to eat 40 milligrams of it. It'd just be kind of like in one piece.
Yeah.
There
See.
you go.
I'm liking this.
So, what's your?
I'll keep the cost down.
Hopefully, you like coffee, but what's your go-to coffee order?
Oh, my coffee order. I'm weird though because I really like bulletproof coffee,
Okay.
and so that's for sure my thing.
Okay.
I don't know what that is.
Bulletproof coffee is it's got butter and MCT oil in it.
Oh, I've tried that.
Did you like it?
Butter coffee. It was weird. Like, I couldn't. I
You
had
gotta
a
be
mental
smart
issue
with it.
I had a mental issue with it. Like, just putting butter in the coffee
Yeah.
and then drinking it was just kind of this weird.
Well, then you didn't make it right.
Was
I had it
it
at a restaurant. I had it at a restaurant.
okay? It
Oh,
was okay.
I'm like,
so,
it's got to be
yeah.
blended.
I
It
don't
has to be
Yes.
emulsified to
Uh-huh.
make it right. Otherwise, it's
Yes.
just butter sits on the top of
Yeah,
your
which
coffee.
does not
No,
work.
it wasn't like that.
Okay.
It wasn't like a hot chocolate where the whipped cream's like the butter and hit my face. It wasn't weird like that.
That would be very weird.
But it was rich. I remember it being
Yeah,
very rich.
it's super rich. I know. I think the first time you do it, you're kind of like, this is real weird.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're like, I feel really good though, and I'm full, and I have like focus and energy, and I can go for the day. And I just drank my breakfast, except it didn't taste like Slim Fast, and like we're good, you know. So I don't know. It's one of those things. It's always been my favorite.
I'm not a big coffee drinker, but I do like green tea.
I like green tea too.
Yeah. And I do put cinnamon in it. I don't put butter in it. I don't know if that would be real good.
Brandon got to try some this past week. He got a jasmine green tea.
I did.
Was that the first time you tried green tea?
No, not the first time I
That's
tried
the
green tea. They just had all these super crazy fancy names on there. I was like, okay.
I like tea too.
Well, I drink that probably. We were talking about coffee today. Interesting. Dessert and coffee. That was one of our topics
It's
today.
like the
They kinda
best
go
part of
together.
life.
Yeah, interesting, huh?
So I would love to issue a challenge to you, and I would love for both of you, without us giving any input, to guess what each of our coffee orders are. So what sort of coffee, when you look at us, would you think that we would order? Like,
When we look at you?
Yeah.
Since I used to be a Starbucks barista,
Okay.
let's go.
All right.
I just ruined your mind. I'm sorry.
See, and I was
Yeah,
a barista for a
yeah.
little while too, so
Well, she's
I,
the coffee
Yes.
barista, so you know.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, based on like personality and everything else, which is not necessarily going to be like what
Good
your
for
taste
you.
buds are or whatever. I would put you as like an
You as in me?
Americano.
okay.
Like an Americano.
All right.
You may not actually get that though because it's kind of
Do you know what that is?
I have no idea.
Of course not. It's
Oh.
it's shots of espresso poured over water.
Okay.
hot water.
So it's essentially kind of
So
like
it's
getting a drip
diluted?
coffee, but it
it's
can
like
have better
diluted
flavor if you do the.
So it's diluted espresso.
Not really. It makes
Yes,
it like the flavor
actually.
perfect.
It
Because the
is
espresso
diluted
is super
espresso.
concentrated.
And it's much more mild.
Yeah.
And you got to get the
a
shots
good-
just right. Okay, let me ask you a question since you were a barista. Did you have to time your shots back in the day when you made your espresso shots?
Yes, and then we had a machine that did it for
I
us. So we got one of the
know.
machines that did it, and I actually like that way better.
Yeah, it was weird though because do you remember like when we used to have to time them? Like you would have to do the tamp, and the tamp was based on the humidity out in the air and like what the if it was hot or cold that day, and you would literally have to do like some test shots of the day. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I was about to say you have to figure out like how many grams you're getting per pull. So you set the machine so that it can give you enough because it's going to grind. So what you're talking about tamping is like when you press down the actual espresso itself. So you have a machine that grinds it because you want a fine grind for
Yeah.
espresso, and then you have to kind of figure out based off that day like what's going to give you the appropriate pull, because if the water's running through too fast, you're getting your shots in 12 seconds when they're supposed to be 16 seconds.
Right.
I thought
Or
it was smoke.
if it's going too slow, he thought we were bullshitting.
I
See,
thought it was like, I know about that.
this is what happens. is I love
let's
getting
see
tested
that.
because when I
Right.
nerd out about something, it goes to like the next level, and it's like it's bad.
I know, like I love it.
Coffee is one of those things for me.
I know,
like
right?
I when I got out of school before I opened up my office, that was what I did for a little while because I love coffee.
So cool.
And the schedule for that allowed me the freedom to be able to study for a test that I had to take. So I was like kind of like doing it, and I was like whatever. And then we had the coffee guy come in one day and like kind of take me through everything, and I was like, this is really fascinating.
Yeah.
And
it
then you
is.
start to learn, and you're like, okay. And it's, what she's talking about, like, there's different grinds depending on what you want. Do you want to pour over? Are we making a cold brew? So the coarser versus the finer the grind depends on, like, what you want. Which you would... I'm not going to say anything, but I don't think you would actually care about that because she hasn't given yours yet.
Because he
And I drink Americanos. It's not necessarily my go-to, but I do
No,
like
I
that.
wouldn't
Bo.
think it
I do
was your
like that.
go-to, but if
I
I had
won't
to guess.
spoil anything because I want to hear Jennifer's guess,
I like it. And then I would think he's like a caramel frappuccino guy or something.
too. I think Amy's my new favorite person. Yes.
You're kind of extra, you know. It's like he's got 2 beers, which, by the way, I approve of highly. Like, I love people that have multiple drinks
Right.
at a table.
Nice
Like,
to have options.
props. Yes, like for real, all the
it's
way.
always like the winter bottle over here,
yeah.
and got a coffee and a water, and yeah. He's like,
She asked me
Whitney,
what my favorite food it was, and I said, "Oh, it would be a bulletproof coffee." And she's like, "That's like not a food." I'm like, "Well,
to me it is.
drinks are food to me.
Butter goes on food. It counts.
It works."
I don't know that I can offer anything on that, being that I've never even had a full cup of coffee.
So you're not a big coffee person?
No, I've never even had a full cup of it. Like, I've sipped it.
Really?
Yeah, so I don't even know that but I'm just going to go with hers. I'm going to go with hers.
See, I'm not a huge coffee person either.
Yeah.
As you could tell,
just
on
not
your
my-
Americano. Now I know.
Yeah, we got the whole lesson on Americano. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are good.
No, I actually do want to know, because I'm a coffee nerd like that. Like, tell me what your actual drinks are.
So I like mocha latte
Awesome.
with 1 squirt of chocolate.
Only one.
Only
Just
one.
a one
I don't like
pumper.
it too sweet,
Yeah, okay.
no whip.
Wow.
And very recently I tried it with oat milk, and it was quite outstanding.
Wow.
Oat milk's like my wife's favorite thing. It's like it's the new big thing.
It's
Communion has
I've
that.
seen it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Have you
I've had
tried
it.
though,
It's
or
good.
No,
It has
well,
like a cinnamon note to it.
Really?
I don't know.
Mhm.
I would think it would. I mean, I would just think it would have this
Try it.
amazing...
Well, when you have it with all the stuff that you put in with it, yeah, it's probably hard to
Tastes
get
like
that.
chocolate.
I mean, there was a heart on it. It was nice. Heart
There was a heart on?
on it.
Heart
I know,
on
I had
it.
to, like,
Got
think
it.
about what
Got
you said
it.
at first, too.
Is my New
Listen,
York accent coming out now? Did I hit that level
you
of weird?
no, you haven't drank enough to become Gilbert Godfrey yet.
No.
We're okay.
We'll work on it.
Scott has 2 impersonations. They're Gilbert Godfrey and George
Oh my
Costanza.
goodness, we need to see that.
Yeah. That
We'll get him
sounds
there. If he'll drink enough of this
awesome.
funnel cake beer, we'll be
Keep
there.
taking
Right.
your funnel cake
We'll be there.
beer. It's all good.
Uh-huh.
So to give you
And
the
he drinks coffee black.
yeah, I was about to say to give you the best answer I can, but also like because you'll understand. Like it depends on the time of year. For me, like we're in Texas and it can be crazy hot.
Yeah.
So I love cold brew, but I'm very particular. They have to be South American beans, just because that's traditionally what you would make a cold brew with. Just flavor wise, that's the profile that I want. I don't want any of the flowery floral notes in my coffee. I'm out. Starbucks does that, and I've had their cold brew, and it like almost makes me sick.
Oh my gosh.
I can't.
Wow.
I can't handle that. But I also like Communion has a really good drip coffee. Their process is good. So if somebody, that's almost like a test for me. I like, let me have your drip coffee. Like, let me just try it. And it's like that's almost a tester for like what do I want. But I love that. I've gone through my Americano phases. Depends on the day, or if that's all they have, they can't do drips. They can do that. I'll do that.
When Brandon wakes up, he checks the humidity, and then he determines this is an Americano day.
I like pour overs from some places. Like honestly, if you want to go to Starbucks
Texas
and still
barometer.
get good coffee, get a pour over because it's made fresh and you can get small batch. They do some small batch to keep the hipsters happy.
Yeah.
And so they're not overly roasted, ridiculously terrible beans. And so you can actually get a pretty decent coffee if you ask for a pour over at
So
Starbucks.
It's like bitter water.
No, it's delicious.
It's delicious.
If you have really good coffee, it's not bitter. That's the thing is
Yeah.
everyone thinks when I say black coffee, they're like, God, your soul must be so dark. I'm like, no, I like it to have really good flavor. If it's bitter, that's not good.
I've had good black coffee, but I've had more not good black coffee.
And that's the thing. You have to go to the right places. That's why when we start talking about this, like, I'm so picky.
If there's no barometer in my next coffee shop, not ordering.
Like, luckily, my in-laws will never see this.
Let me see
I
your
don't like to have
barometer.
coffee at their house, and so they'll always ask, and I'm like, no. And they know I love coffee, and they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, no, I had enough today. Like, I'm not going to drink that. No, this is...
Yes.
So on our podcast, we very, few episodes into this thing, found out that Scott is basically the manliest man that ever did exist. He doesn't do anything that doesn't make him manly. So we had a guest on, and one of the questions I had written down for a fun topic to talk about on the podcast was, what is the least manly thing that you do or that you're into? Scott was like, I don't have any. And I'm like, I started picking, like, the next episode, I, like, looked up some things and had all this, and he was like, nope. I asked his wife, she wouldn't give me anything, all this stuff. And then just by chance one day, he asked me to pick him up a coffee, and I was like, what do you want? He was like, give me a mocha latte. And I was like, excuse me? Did you type that out wrong? Did you mean something else? Is that an order for your wife? Like, I was confused. And so I busted his balls about it ever since. Never let it go. So it is one of my favorite
If I were
questions
him,
to
I
ask.
wouldn't let it go either, because it's all he's got.
But that's the thing is he holds on to his, like, and I'm like, what do I care? I got nothing to prove over here.
The topic you did. We all
No,
got
I'm saying
surprised
you
that
hold
said
on to
nothing.
that topic like, oh, that's right. And I'm like, I don't have to
Yeah.
hold on to those things to make me manly. I'm okay.
That's okay.
I'm secure.
As long
It's
as you're
okay.
comfortable with yourself, that's fine.
I am. I might be the most comfortable person
Keep
here.
humidifying your coffee. You'll be all right.
I wasn't humidifying it. I never had one. Nah. Got to bring the grind down a little bit.
I think we're going with a medium grind today.
We had a pretty temperature controlled place, so I don't know that we ever went. But I knew what she was talking about. I get it.
This is a 3 temp morning.
No, you would never do that.
No.
Not a 3. Not even a 2.
Don't even spin it when you're done. That messes everything too.
Single temp.
No spin.
Single, yeah.
Yep.
Single is just how
down.
hard.
Yep. Sit on the table. Boom. Single press in.
Yeah.
See? I don't know shit about coffee.
Me neither.
It's just that
It's been
simple.
entertaining.
But it's like cars. To you, if I started talking cars, you would go. Like for me, that was one of the random things that I got into was coffee. I love it, and so I was like, it's the same thing. You start talking about cars, I'm over here like I'm lost.
I can't drink that.
Right?
I don't know what to do.
But we're over here talking about grinds of beans, and you're like, same way.
Uh-huh.
Everybody's got their thing. Yours is just cars.
Yep.
And mine's coffee. Actually, mine's a lot of things that are random things that I get into, and it's like I know way too much about that.
So what is your fix? Do you have hobbies beyond podcasting and starting businesses and being entrepreneurial? You know, like
Dogs.
the life we're supposed to
Dogs.
I have 5 dogs.
Oh,
Do you have
yeah.
any children?
No.
No kids, 5 dogs.
She has 5 fur
Wow.
babies.
And my husband wants to breed one of our dogs.
wow.
And
Together?
so that's,
Together?
well, no. So the problem
be
with
like
that
incest,
is
right?
then he wants to, we don't have a male. So initially I was
That's
like,
a
well,
problem.
okay. So initially I'm thinking, well, we're just going to, you know, like we'll make that all happen, right? You
So
know.
he's really outnumbered.
But then he says, no, we're going to buy. We're going to get a male. We're going to
You're
get
gonna buy a
another
stud.
one. We're going to buy one, and he's going
Which
to live
doesn't
with
sound
us.
cheap.
No, and so then that would
Hang
be
on, are all these dogs the same kind of dog?
Yeah, that's what I
No.
was going to ask. What breed does he want to breed? What's the one that he wants to breed?
it's a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. They look like Cocker
Oh,
Spaniels.
yes.
Alright.
Uh-huh.
And she looks like Lady from Lady and the Tramp.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So like legit, like.
And you
it
can make
makes
probably
She
like
doesn't do
2
all this
to
spaghetti.
2 to 3 G's probably off of each puppy, I bet.
So
But here's
what
the
does he want to get?
problem:
wants to
he
get a-
doesn't want to sell the dogs.
And by the way,
What's
guys,
the
let's
name?
just give a cheap plug for the Richardson Humane
I'm
Society
glad you
really
guys
quick.
found each other.
I
It
know.
sounds like it's a good relationship.
Adopt, don't shop. We're not advocating for that.
No, I'm
It's like if
just
we
saying.
buy a stud, we could have like 12 dogs and not have to pay for 12.
No, he
one.
just wants to have the mom and the dad live together in the same house and keep all the babies.
Oh, wow.
He wants to like nurture this pet relationship and watch them like fall in love and make babies.
Wants to play
The
golf,
pet
it's not-
family.
Right?
But like before we do all this, we already have 5.
Wow. Are they varying ages or is one on the
The
way out
only
or
only
anything?
one is one that can be bred. All the other ones I always have them fixed and everything. So, but yeah, this one
so-
particular
And it's a King
one.
Charles that could be bred?
I gotta know the names and breeds of each one.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you remember. I mean,
Oh
that's a lot.
yes, this is
5,
not a
I mean,
problem. We only have 3 breeds, so we have a Yorkshire Terrier or a Yorkie.
Okay.
Her name is Princess Leia. My husband's a big Star Wars fan.
There you go.
So, yes. And we actually found her, so she was adopted. So we found her off the streets. And she's...
Heck, that could have been a Wookiee.
If you're looking to get rid of a dog, just figure out where she lives and go drop the thing off. It'll be taken care of, and they'll love
you
it.
can foster with Richardson Humane Society.
Yeah.
And not have to procreate, you know.
Correct. I know. Trust me, I've had conversations with him.
So it's one Yorkie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then we have 2 Brussels Griffins.
I don't know what that
What
is.
is that?
Okay, well, let me tell you what this is. George Lucas had this dog. Now, these are my dogs,
This
by
is
the
my
way.
Star
Wars.
George Lucas had this dog and created the Ewoks.
So is this like
Based
are they named
on these
George
dogs.
and Lucas? I know they're
No.
Oh,
all
I know what you're talking about.
Yes,
they were from the movie As Good as It
They're
Gets.
the Ewok dogs.
They're the Ewok dogs.
Hilarious. I've never even seen this.
Dude, they're like
I had a
hysterical.
hamster
Have you
named
seen this?
Ewok. Yeah, well, I had a hamster named Ewok once.
So I have 2 of those.
You have 2 of those?
I have 2 of those.
I love it. They have like this massive beard.
They
It's
do.
so awesome.
They look
Uh-huh.
like little old
That's
men,
what you should be
kinda.
breeding. But continue.
I agree. They're my loves. So
I would put them up as just Ewoks for sale. I mean,
Ewoks for sale.
not only would you get the right people, you can charge whatever you want to. You go, no, it's a real Ewok.
That's so
You put one
true.
of those little outfits on the front where they're like walking around and you just say,
Yeah, so we've got 2 of those, and then we have 2 Cavalier King Charles Spaniels.
okay, so what are the
Oh, but they're
Ewoks'
both
names?
females. That's
Oh, the Ewoks. The first one is named Duke,
Duke.
and the other one is her name is Pippi.
Any reference for Duke, or you just liked it?
No, he's very proper.
Oh, okay.
He's a very proper dog.
He's the Duke
And
of
then
the house.
King Charles, do they have royal names as well?
My husband named the Cavalier Charlemagne. So yes, very
Charlemagne
much.
the God?
No, not Charlemagne the rapper. Although that does happen. Charlemagne the French.
Sorry, I said that.
Guy,
You were the only
king.
one. Yeah, I don't think many.
You know, our last name's Lafitte, so you know it's a thing.
And the other one?
And then Lady, because she looks like Lady.
That's right.
Hmm.
Well, you got your hands full.
We do. So I guess that's my hobby. I don't know. My life.
Good luck topping that. What are your
Well,
hobbies?
I probably have her beat
I've
the
got
animal
cats.
department.
She actually does.
I do. I have cats, dogs, two rabbits. I have a lot of pets, and so. But we don't have all these cute little names. I mean, our
So
pets
are you married as well?
I am.
And your husband's cool with all this, or he deals with it?
He deals.
Sounds about right.
You know, it's funny. He grew
Every
here's
man
funny
in the
story.
room
So
goes,
he
"Mhm."
grew up on a farm in Montana. His family are cattle ranchers. They've
Yeah.
had their ranch in the family for 100 years.
So he's done his time as a kind of
Yeah, but you know, people that come from ranch hands and ranch families have a very different view of animals.
Animals aren't in
They
the
serve
house.
they serve a purpose, and if they don't serve that purpose, you no longer have that pet,
Yep.
right? Well,
by
it's
any means necessary.
yeah, exactly.
Correct.
And it's been interesting because I grew up in Houston and we always had, we had turtles. At one point, my parents had a baby alligator. I mean, we've had.
I used to catch turtles
Yeah.
like crazy when I was younger.
Yeah,
It drove
yeah.
my parents
No,
nuts.
that wasn't a
He
weird
got
turtle
up
face.
at-
That was
yeah.
alligator.
He
That
got
was
the alligator thing. My dad.
That wasn't on turtles. That
You've
was
never been to like one of the fairs where it's like, oh, we have these alligator babies over here. You can buy one for your kid.
For real?
Yes. Oh
Well,
yeah.
if they had that,
It's for sure a thing in Oklahoma. So are you
Yeah.
surprised?
right?
Why not?
Right.
That's
So-
population control.
I don't know how long that lasted in our house, but yeah, we grew up with a lot of pets, and so it was interesting. The first 8 years we were married, we had a hamster. That was all we could have. And then we got a dog, and then the dog stayed outside. And then after 7 years of having the dog, I worked him into the house. And then somehow we went from that to like 3 dogs and cats and rabbits
Oh, yeah,
and
there you
fish
go.
and a bird. And
It was like, hey,
Like-
buddy, he's on a business trip. Come on.
Yeah,
in. Let's
so
get,
now
let's
we
get you
just-
comfortable.
Did any family members have any crazy animals? Because I got a story about my grandma.
Crazy
Well,
animal.
Yeah, just not something that you would consider an animal that you would keep inside of your
Like
house as a
alligator.
domestic pet.
well, no, we didn't have that, but I do have a story about my son's gecko that came back from the dead.
I
This
would
is
like to hear
legit.
that
This,
story.
this is like true story.
Perfect for October.
Yeah,
Awesome gecko.
I talk about this gecko all the time because he still has this gecko, and I forgot its name.
Oh, it's still around.
It's Titan.
You should call
Titan.
it. You should call it Jesus.
It might be. It could be the zombie gecko. I don't know. Or it could be
Jesus,
Jesus
yep.
or the zombie
Uh-huh.
gecko. However you want to look at it.
Well,
But
you get a new name.
exactly.
You're back.
Rose from the dead.
Came back, you get a different name. What do you want?
Right? So he has this Indonesian gecko that you can't find this Indonesian gecko. It's not going to be outside. Like you have to go to a pet store to get this because it's like got print on it, all this. And so he buys this Indonesian gecko. And one day I'm in bed asleep. I get up in the middle of the night because I hear him in there, and he's like, "My gecko's died." And I'm like, "Are you sure the gecko's dead?" And he's like, "Yeah, the gecko's dead." So I go to bed. He buries the gecko in the middle of the night. Goes in the backyard, buries it, and I'm like,
Pet cemetery.
"Yeah, exactly,
Holy shit.
exactly."
Like,
So
who
he
does that in the middle of the night anyway?
Right. He buries this
It's a shovel
gecko.
full of dirt. Right? Like, gecko's like, what the fuck happened here?
Yeah. It makes me stepbrothers again. What are you doing? Burying you.
That might have been what
Burying you.
happened.
Brother, I'm alive.
That might have been what happened. Well, so he buries this gecko, and I don't think anything of it. And I'm talking like a couple months goes by because we go to Montana on a family
Months?
visit. Yes. We come back. In the middle of the day, I'm sitting in my back office, which is connected to the garage, and I hear this scream, and I'm thinking, what pet is dead? Because anytime I hear my son scream, there's an animal dead. Something's dead, right?
Undead.
So, like, we just know. I go in the garage, and he's like, my gecko's alive. And I'm like, are you sure that's your gecko? Are you sure that's just not some gecko? He said, Mom, no, it's an Indonesian gecko. That is my gecko.
Which is true. It's the
It
only
was
way you
in
know.
our garage,
All
like
right,
somehow.
all right. I've got questions. Have you tried burying anything else in the yard since?
No. No. So we have a rule.
Yeah, you might live on some.
Yes, we have a rule. Like, because apparently.
There was a movie about
I
this.
know. Right, Pet Cemetery. And
Yes.
apparently geckos can play dead. They play dead. So the rule is that thing needs to have rigor mortis. Like, it needs to be there. Whatever, when you have a pet, it needs to make sure. So
It's
the
like,
fish die.
Yeah.
Like the fish die, we're like, are you sure the fish is dead?
It's like floating in there. You're like poking it. It's going.
Yes.
We're gonna leave it in there for 3 days just to make sure.
Sean's like, no, Mom, the fish is floating. I'm like, are you sure
The
fish
dog's
is dead?
starting to stink, Mom. I think it's dead. We're just gonna make sure. If you want him to come back to life, though, just go bury him in the backyard. He might come back.
My word.
It's special dirt.
Why don't you go pick up the poop and then we'll talk about it? Right?
There you go. Right? So yeah, so we joked about the Titan gecko, and she's happily alive in the bedroom right now. But Sean did tell me, that's my son, he said that she changed after she'd been outside all that time because she was more aggressive when she came back.
She had to fend for herself. It was a crazy life out there.
She's a zombie.
It's hard in the streets.
Yeah. It's a great story.
She doesn't
isn't it?
trust him anymore.
It's
Whatever.
great. It's the best story.
She's like, I was just chilling, taking a nap, and you buried me alive. The hell, man?
She came back pissed.
No, so I brought that up because whenever I was growing up, my grandma would, she had a dog, and then she would have cats, and then she had birds. And at one point in time, they were trimming trees or something like that somewhere out by her house, and she found this baby squirrel that she literally kept and fed it,
Wow.
had
A friend
a
of
squirrel
mine's
in
girlfriend
the house.
Wow.
And that squirrel loved my grandma. It was insane. I'm like, only
A friend of mine.
my
in New
grandma
York,
could do something like this.
His girlfriend raised squirrels,
Wow.
and they're super sweet.
Yeah.
Insane to me. And
Yeah.
she would be kind of a turd sometimes, but she was always come sit on my grandma's shoulder. She'd feed her all the time.
goodness.
Loved it.
I had a good dead animal story. Didn't come
Did
back
you?
to life though, so
Oh.
it's not as good as yours.
Yeah, good luck.
But when I was younger, my brother came down. He had a hamster named Max, and he comes down, and we're about ready for dinner, and he's like, "Dad, Max ain't moving." And my dad goes, "Well, put him back in his cage, and we'll take a look at him after dinner." And I go to mine. The hamster's probably dead. I'm like, "Shit. Okay, that sucks." My brother goes back upstairs, comes back down, and realizes what's going on, and just starts bawling out. And I'm like, "Oh." But it didn't come back to life. It was
didn't.
Robo Hamster, though. He was a long-haired hamster.
Yeah.
Got his hair wrapped around his leg. It broke his leg.
Oh, wow.
Got the leg fixed.
Wow.
Man, now I'm remembering. I did have a pet guinea pig growing up. It was albino.
Oh yeah, her and I, we've probably had every
Yeah.
pet from the pet store between me and her son.
Literally.
We've owned them all.
We had a snake that, remember the snake got out?
I don't do
Yes.
snakes.
We had a ball python snake.
Damn. I
And
love my guinea pig, though.
When we lived in Florida.
His name is Thor.
my dog's name is
Thor.
Thor. My Kahula. But we had a snake that got out for 48 hours, and it crawled all the way from his room to the living room to the kitchen, and got behind the
Hell
refrigerator,
nah.
got past the cats, the dogs.
Good thing I didn't eat the cats or the dogs.
Now, imagine my surprise though when I walked in the door and there was flour and pennies all over my floor. My husband says to me, "Go ask your son," and he's face plant on the couch, face down, and I'm like, "Why is there flour and pennies on my floor?" And he said, "A snake got out."
So what are the flour and pennies?
Well, because when they slither across the floor,
It makes noise and then it makes
yeah, all my entire
So
house.
you'd hear it or see
Yeah.
where they went. Gotcha.
Yeah, my entire house. 48
I'm over here
hours.
like,
I'd be like, Residence Inn? Ready to go.
I was more like, you better find that thing before it dies in my shoe, and I put my foot in my shoe. That's what I was more worried about, finding the snake. I didn't want it dead.
Those are some big shoes to fill for a ball python.
Yeah, well, it was only it wasn't
He's a
big.
baby.
Yeah, it was a baby.
So we had an interesting conversation over the weekend. We were talking about Chris Farley
oh man, this is good.
and Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Okay.
If Chris Farley were still alive, would he be as funny as he was going through life? Or
I don't
would
think it was
kinda-
necessarily as funny. We just wondered, would he be in the same place as Adam Sandler?
Because Adam Sandler, I feel like, has kind of been done.
Would he
Kinda
be
washed out a little bit,
would he
you
be
know?
as successful like Adam Sandler's whole run and all the movies and all the things? If Chris Farley had lived, would he outdo what Adam Sandler had done?
I think so. I think
Yeah?
differently about him. Yeah, he's a.
That's how I
different-
felt too.
I did
Yeah,
too.
he is a different kind of humor. I think. That,
And everyone was like, we were taking the exception of no guys, you don't understand the drugs he was on. I'm like, no, we get it. That's why he died. We're saying
The arguments were like,
we're
he was on
taking those
different
away and
drugs than
then he
Adam
lived.
Sandler was
Yeah,
on.
and it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
one of my arguments was he literally made the same movie with two different names, and they're iconic. People love them. Tommy Boy and Black Sheep. I'm like,
Right.
it's basically the same movie. It's him and David Spade. It's essentially the exact same movie, and that's Adam Sandler's known for that. That's what we talked about, like all of his Happy Madison, like that's literally all those. It's like, oh, you're Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, you're this same person. Evolved a little bit as he got older, but I think it's an interesting, because I get it, they're both iconic, and obviously Adam Sandler was able to probably get his life together, because I'm sure he was probably doing some stuff too, but man, Farley was going crazy. But I just think Farley had this sense of humor.
But part of the argument I put out there was like Will Ferrell. Pretty funny dude in lots of different movies. But as of late, some of the stuff that he's done has been kind of muted, like the Lego movie, and there were a couple others where he was like very minimal parts.
Right.
Well, the thing about Farley that I think the biggest loss we have, like for like the comedic, like when you look at like the comedic community, is I feel like he had the ability to inspire the next generation and possibly even coach them. And I feel like that is probably, I felt like he had a way of speaking with people and making them feel seen and heard and understood, that I feel like he would really have been able to make a big impact.
Interesting.
Even beyond.
Well, and you got to look at it like, and not that it's like, oh, he did this in life, but like we were talking about how SNL's not the same anymore. Like, whenever I was younger and how popular that was, and it was like, you got it, and now it's like,
well, it was like in Living Color when you were waiting for Jim Carrey to come on and be like,
Yes.
Yes. So true.
right? I mean,
and then they've just kind of lost that. So it's like, you know,
and even
maybe some of the other people
knew you were waiting for it because they didn't put him on every week.
That was true. That was true.
There were so many great people on In Living Color. It was just such an amazing show.
Loved In Living Color.
Yeah.
That was
Homie,
like
don't
the
play
beginning
that.
of the
That should have been
resistance,
your
you know.
theme song.
What, Homie Don't Play That?
Yeah.
In Living Color? We could do that. We've been doing Phenomena.
Yeah,
I think we should
that's
change it.
It's
Manama.
perfectly fitting.
It's addictive, you know, it kind of works.
How much of a pain in the ass would that be to do just for this episode? Put the In Living Color music for the same over the same thing. Okay, we might make it special just for this episode.
We probably wouldn't get a notification from YouTube though with Jack Music.
Oh, we get that all the time. It only plays for like 6 seconds in the beginning.
Oh my
They're like,
gosh.
oh, what? And we're like,
Written music. I'm like, okay.
we're like, well,
gonna
we're not
start
making any
doing
money off of
that.
this. Yeah, so we're going to keep doing it. Yeah. We're not at a monetization level just quite yet, especially on YouTube. That one is what it is. Facebook's going well.
It is.
YouTube's kind of is what it is.
It's tough. I mean, YouTube. So I saw I downloaded one of these survey result deals, and it's talking about internet marketing and so forth. And it talked about like the 20 most visited sites. And I'll bring it up because it's pretty.
I knew this was
It's
going
coming.
to come
I
up
had
at
to
some
bring it
point.
up. I mean,
He's been
it's
talking
just-
about it all day. He called me
yeah.
literally to talk about this
funny.
earlier
Yeah,
today.
sure.
It's just hilarious, actually, right? Let me see. Where did I send it to you? What time was that? It was later in the day, wasn't it? Shit. Anyway, long story short, I mean, it was showing how many visitors, how average time on a page, average pages visited. So YouTube was like 21 million people, average of about 15 pages, and they were in there for about 20 minutes.
Wow.
Facebook was 10 million people. Average time in there per visit was like 10.2 minutes.
Wow.
And that there were 20 of them. So there were 3 different survey areas that they pulled. And one of them had the porn sites on it.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Right? So there were 3 porn sites, and all I could think of when I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay. So average pages visited was 11. And average time spent was between 10 and 15 minutes.
Of
so
course.
Like, that
So we
slide
just said
to
efficiency.
me,
That's
that slide
exactly
to
what they
me
wanted.
was like people can self-pleasure themselves within 15 minutes and less than 11 pages.
Yes.
I mean, statistically speaking.
I knew this was going to come up. I've ever
Right?
tried.
He's like, I didn't
We
even
went
know.
down this.
now there
we talked
were-
about so many other things.
Now there were 2
Scott won't bring
other
up the porn thing.
there were 2 other
Well, I was going to ask that question.
surveys. Yeah, there were 2 other surveys, but it excluded the porn sites.
Uh-huh.
And then one came up that I didn't know. It's called VK.com, and it is effectively the Russian Facebook.
Oh. Oh,
I mean,
how
it looks just like it. It looks
Yeah.
like it's completely hijacked off completely.
Wow.
I visited the site today. I was like, I got to check this out.
Facebook's
Yeah.
too
Not
scared to go
not
after.
blocked at work, by the
I
way.
know, right?
I could get a Russian thing going. We can import the products, you know.
You wanna
Right?
start uploading our podcast on that? Come
That's
on.
what I was actually just thinking.
Not a bad idea.
Right?
Come on
Really
now.
big in Russia. I
Go
mean,
set us up a page.
it could be
That's
competitive
right.
intelligence.
The
It
thing that
could
we
be
used to
not.
upload, we
you
are
know?
popular in some places. I don't know if Russia's one of them.
Look, there's a lot of spies out there. They know we kind of loose-lipped and drinking, so they kind of watch
Yeah,
and see what's
you know.
going on.
So what about TikTok? Have y'all gotten on TikTok yet?
No.
I've downloaded it.
Okay, so like if you post something, the amount of views that you're getting, it's
So you've done it.
ridiculous. Not yet, but Gary Vee won't stop talking about it. And I have a friend that's been playing around with it for 2 weeks, and he's already built up 2 pages. One has 13,000 followers, and one has 15,000 followers.
But you got to do dumb shit, right?
Yeah,
'Cause all the stuff
somewhat.
I've seen
It's
is
mostly
like the stuff
entertaining.
I
You don't
It
have
is,
to do that.
but you don't
Gary's a
have
good
to.
example.
Yeah.
Because he'll take like the stuff that he's already doing, TikTok it, and upload it, and he's like, "Screw your platform, I'm going to do it this way." So
Yeah.
he doesn't like TikTok is a lot of TikTok is Musically. It's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
Musically
It
was
is.
dying, and they rebranded smartly. They pivoted, and they
Yeah.
created this.
Like my kids saw it on my phone. They were like, "What do you have TikTok for?" And I'm like,
Like honestly, if I did it,
Oh,
I would like
yeah.
do it, and I would target it towards the kids talking to their parents about whatever it is that I wanted to share. It's like
Yeah.
that's your because the reason that Gary's so high on it is because obviously wherever attention is, and so it's gaining attention
Mm-hmm.
and attraction.
Right.
But it's really when you talk about it, like his big play on it is he wants to play the long game, and so he thinks that some kid that's 8 years old is going to watch that, and in 10 to 12 years when he's older and comes up with the new Uber,
Dude.
that he's
Right.
going to demand that Gary should do just because
He's-
like
Yeah.
he's going to get in the long run he's going to have a long
he's,
play off
he's,
of
he's
that.
100% right. 100%. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and he's
statistically
Gary Vee.
speaking,
That's
an
why.
107
Yeah.
slide report
Yeah.
that I read. I mean, it was showing that the intensity of 16 to 24-year-olds online that are being marketed to is like through the roof, higher
Yeah.
than any other demographic
That's what YouTube is.
on there.
The amount of merch that's sold through YouTube would make people's heads spin.
It's crazy. But that's
How a lot of them they make their money off of that, but they make their money off of merch. That's the
I mean, when we watch Jackass, right?
Right,
It was
right.
like, don't try this at home, and they're like, okay, let's put it on YouTube, and
Yep.
like
Yeah.
people have made massive careers out of it. It's been
Correct.
really impressive, actually.
I don't know.
no. I mean, I'm gonna sit here and be like, I'm not getting TikTok. I was the same way about Instagram for a while, but it was
yeah.
just like I didn't.
Here we are.
I'm like, I don't need another thing, and then it was like, well, So for me, it's how do I leverage it? It has to make sense to me, and there has to be a point. And it's like if I can't effectively leverage it for my message, then why am I using it?
Right.
Well, the cool thing is you've got this awesome podcast, and you could find a couple of really great clips, throw them up in TikTok, and you got something going.
not a
Because
bad
that's
idea.
you just take what
Yeah,
you're
but then
already
that's
doing.
another
and just,
damn social media thing that I gotta manage.
Wow,
manage it.
wow.
You're gonna
I
do
know
our
you're
TikTok.
the expert, but I could do it, man.
I'm gonna train him.
I'm capable. I've got clips.
Commit it. I
I've
want to
got
see
clips.
it. I want to see it.
All right, done.
Perfect.
Make a note of that.
I just got
I
you
even know how
a
to-
TikTok
I
account.
even know how to spell it. I think, right? I do it right.
Yeah, you did it right.
Yeah.
It's like I even know how to. Okay, maybe I don't know. We'll have to check
That's
this
my
out.
first clip right there. Boom.
Take the C's out.
I did. I got it.
No, I mean it's one of those things that I'm like, I'll probably be pissed that I didn't jump on it sooner, more than likely. But I'm not that worried about it. Facebook is still doing exactly what I needed to do, and so is Instagram. So it's like they still have a majority of the eyeballs, so I'm not super worried about it. Because that's the other thing, like, as y'all know, of course, with your podcast and what you're doing, like, overwhelm when it comes to that stuff can be there. And so
I know.
I do talk to a lot of people about social media and strategy and marketing. And, sometimes people are like, it just feels like too much. And I'm like, I get it. I'm like, figure out who you want to talk to, figure out where those people are, and then only focus on that. And then slowly expand yourself out and figure out how to do that. Almost like you said, if we had the time or an editor to be able to do it, we could do what I eventually want to do with this is a lot of shorter clips of what we're doing. Joe Rogan does this. Joe Rogan has his 2 to 3 hour podcast.
Yep.
And then he has another YouTube page that's like Joe Rogan Clips. And then I think he's got like 3 or 4 YouTube pages. And he'll literally be like, well, I brought, Conor McGregor on, which he hasn't yet, but he's like, I brought some UFC fighter on, and during this segment we were talking about swimming with sharks. And so literally he'll clip that out, and it's like Joe Rogan freaks out over 13-foot shark, and like they get you, and like you may not want the long form. Some people love that, but you may want the short form. So it's like we've got plenty of episodes now with random, hilarious little short clips where it's like you can take that, put it, and post it, and create that through.
Episode that in itself pretty funny.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things, you know, and out of context stuff. We have stuff all the time where there's some out of context thing that was said that's hilarious, or somebody didn't necessarily mean to say that.
Don't Be So Brewed Tangents Edition.
Yeah. So I get it. It's just I do the same thing too. It's just like I'm going to stay super focused on these, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to let it be what it is. So there are some long form content things that I'll strip down and use, but it's like you can't not share your message because you're overwhelmed about where you should share it.
Right.
It's
I
like
agree.
just share it, and then as you get more comfortable with that, and it's like this is easy. I can upload on Instagram and Facebook all the time. It's like, okay, well, maybe you should get a TikTok then. It's like, okay. Same with Snapchat. I haven't used Snapchat in forever, but they're making moves right now. They're buying up a lot of YouTubers.
Yeah, there's like a whole thing with that. I know I can't figure out how to use the platform.
Either, yeah.
I get lost.
So the best thing that Snapchat has is the Discover page, where you can follow certain pages and you get like little short snippets and uploads of certain things. So what they're doing is they're buying up some of these YouTube pages that have a big following in the millions that get good views, and then they take their show and instead of putting it on YouTube, they just come put it over here on Snapchat.
It's just marketing.
Yeah.
And so they're buying up some of these people like, hey, I want to buy the rights to your show, essentially, and you exclusively use our platform. It's what people do with music now. It's like, hey, you know, the girl Catch Me Outside. The girl Catch Me Outside, she exclusively did her music on Pandora. It was the only place you could get it.
We were
Pandora paid for that.
We were listening to Bert Kreischer. I don't know if you know him, comedian, on the way back from Austin. He's got a podcast, and he was talking with Jim Gaffigan, and they were talking about where to put your next special.
Yeah.
And a lot of them had like a bunch of Netflix, and then Jim Gaffigan goes and jumps onto the Amazon wagon. And that's the only place that it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, their response was, change it up every time. Don't just stay in one spot, keep moving it, because you'll be more valuable to those different entities when your next special comes out and somebody wants to pick it up.
Smart.
I was like, that's pretty genius.
Well, it's Netflix just paid Eddie Murphy a lot of money to come back and do some specials with them. So he did like a really big deal.
Wow.
Yeah, we're going to kind of see the rebirth of entertainment. You know,
well, because Netflix is terrified that they're going to get... There was a period there where they were like, Netflix might not make it.
Well, it's not just that. Well, I mean, look, I think it's going to get all the way through. I mean, this is like the rebirth of channels.
It is.
Right,
You're
but
right.
the channels aren't available publicly on free television. Now you've got to buy your channel. Right? And now it's who has access to that. So if you look at Netflix not as, you know, just a service, but it's effectively a channel. They've got stuff on there that the other channels don't have.
True.
You know, but now it's like if you were sitting there paying for your channel and they were unplugging cable and you could pick your package, right? I mean, because I always sat there like, you know, when I go on JetBlue and they've got those 12 channels, like, that's really all I need. I'm pretty satisfied. You know, you're at the hotel and there's 22 and it's like, can you just give me the hotel package and I'll give you like $35 a month. And you're like, no, like, I just want my locals and I want, you know, my fixed channels and that's it.
So now you got my Sling.
Yeah.
That's what Sling is. I mean, that's
Yeah.
literally you just get to pick which one you want. They get you because there's
that's
certain
on,
like...
But that's on the real channels. That's not saying, hey, I want the Netflix content, I want the Disney content, I want the Apple content, I want the Amazon content.
Correct.
You know, that's just... That whole other area is like effectively its own channel. Like HGTV, all that stuff, when you can only buy it through DirecTV or Dish, I mean, it's another source.
It's always interesting and fascinating. That goes back to the other conversation we were having about Garth Brooks. So Garth Brooks, I don't know if you know this, you can't get him really on any platforms digitally. He doesn't have stuff on Spotify. He doesn't have stuff on iTunes.
The Michael Jackson of country music.
It's literally like, I think he has like some exclusive deal with Walmart, and so I think you can only get his stuff at Walmart, like the physical. Which I'm like, I get it. Well, and it's like how much? Yeah, but I'm like, I love Garth Brooks music. I would get it, and it's like it's smart, but how much money could you be making off of digital downloads?
Dude, Walmart's one of the biggest companies in the world.
I don't know. I'm just
a good
factoring out
partner.
the amount of people that would want to have that stuff to be able to put it on there.
Yeah.
Nobody wants the hassle of holding the thing anymore.
No,
That was
they
the
do
thing
not.
when we were younger, where it was like you want that and you had the thing and you got to
course.
pull out. Like you had all that. Nobody cares about that anymore.
Those were the days.
You get the digital download, yeah, and all that, and it's like, see, it's interesting. And listen, if Walmart's like, hey, we'll pay you $100 million, don't worry. I'm like, okay, whatever, sure.
I know.
Just press my CDs and put them out.
Another 100, no problem.
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
But they don't even have CD players in cars now. It's
I
weird.
know, like even the aftermarket radios are
Mine
like,
does.
believe it, and you can't see from when you get in, but they're about that thick.
Yeah, it's weird.
You put an aftermarket radio in, they're like super tiny, they're all app radio. You don't need it. I mean, you plug in, and whether you have Spotify or Pandora, I mean, you're hooked up, you're connected, you're getting exactly what you want.
Well, it's now you're moving to the smart car. They made Alexa for the car. That's the new commercial that's out.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Where she'll connect into the car, and you're like, oh, so now at any point you can literally, which, you know, so for all the conspiracy theorists, so the government can listen to me in my car? I don't think so.
My
Aren't they
home
listening
is
to
Not
us
today.
on their
my
phones?
home is one thing, but what I do in my car, I don't know.
What is that meme? It's like, my wife told me that she heard something that the government is listening to us through whatever, and then it was like she laughed, I laughed,
Alexa
Alexa laughed. Uh-oh, yes.
I assume that stuff is listening to us.
Oh,
I mean, our
absolutely.
phone, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like you say, you're like have your
I'm
phone.
not that interesting, so.
No,
I
but
mean, I
like-
am. Don't listen still, please, but I'm not
You get
interesting
the
enough for the
advertisements,
government.
and you're gonna
Yeah.
have corn dog stuff showing up on your
That's
phone tomorrow.
true.
Correct.
Uh-huh.
Like,
There's no
you know,
question about it.
I didn't go search for it, but somebody overheard me all on my phone as I talked to a friend at lunch, and all of a sudden, guess what? All my ads are on Facebook.
Yeah.
Funnel cakes.
And we
Funnel cake ears all over.
funnel cake and corn dogs for the next 8 days.
That's
you know?
right.
That's what we're going to be seeing.
But it's like we've given up privacy completely. We don't think we fully have, but it's. I mean, even when these crimes happen now, all the video.
I know.
Yep.
I mean, we were watching one this morning. Watching one. I mean, horrible news, but a young girl got abducted, 3 years old, by a couple in the car just offering candy, and I was just like, "Holy shit!" Like that's the like. I thought we've advanced. I thought they're like, "Come pet the puppy," not just like, "Hey, come
Yeah.
get some candy." You
Yeah.
know? But they had video, like all over. Like they got it, you know, at the gas station, and all different areas around town. There's so much video out there. It's I think it's tough to get away with anything right now. But yet
Yeah.
people still try, and people are still successful.
Did they find her?
Not yet. And the local police, you know, I've spoken with a couple of the chiefs, and they said, you know, only 20% of the crimes get solved or resolved. You know, they get to the point where they can get a verdict and figure out what the hell's going on. A lot is just still unknown.
Wow. That's really
It's
crazy.
scary.
It's really scary. Well, and didn't like with the Joker movie coming out, like they kept kind of warning us like something might happen. They obviously figured it out, whoever was the threats, because
Right.
nothing
that's-
happened. Thank goodness.
That's stuff like that comes around. That's my wife laughs at me. We haven't with my daughter. We haven't been in the movie theater a lot, but ever since you started hearing about the people showing up at movie theaters and all that stuff going on, I always feel like I'm on high alert. It's just a default. I can't help it.
It is
So
for
when
sure.
somebody like walks in and is acting weird, or they're like standing in the doorway and looking, I'm like sitting there like, what the hell are you doing? You
Yeah.
go sit down. You sneaking in here to like do something because I'm
I'll
like,
tell you what, man.
it just doesn't make me comfortable in those situations, and
me
I feel
neither.
like I have to be on guard. Like I just can't not, and so
So I'm
it's
doing
crazy.
a program with the city of Richardson. It's called Richardson Cares, and different branches of the city come in and tell you about their branch. And last week was public safety, and the police came in and talked. And one of the things that they did, they took us through an active shooter scenario.
Wow.
And I was like sitting in my chair. I was like kind of wigging out a little bit. I'm like, I don't know, I want to do this.
Yeah.
But I was like, I mean, I know the guys. I'm like, this will be a controlled environment.
Sure.
So they go out and they got a revolver with a couple of blanks in it. They go in the hallway and they pop off like 4 rounds. Now there's only one door open in the room. And what the first thing I noticed was you don't know where it's really coming from because it sounded like it was coming from right out the door.
Wow.
But he was down the hallway when they popped him off, and they said, look, here's what you're going to do. You're going to hear this, and all we want you to do is just run out the back door. Well, all right, fine, right? So we followed instruction. And they said, you got options to run, to hide, or to fight. And if you're going to fight, be ready to go. But think about it. If you're in that situation, you're either going to go tackle somebody down, shoot them, hide. They said, don't play dead. Playing dead's bad because these guys just go through and they just want to put bullets and stuff,
Right.
And it was just one of those experiences. Like it's like as much as I knew it was coming and I knew it was going to happen, it resonated very much with me, And I was like, holy shit, like this could really happen. And I asked the question. I said, when the shots fired, this was afterwards. I said, it sounded like it was coming right from where we were going to go run out.
Yeah.
And I said, at what point do you make the decision of run versus hide? Right? And I said, from a fight aspect, if I'm licensed to carry or I happen to be carrying and I could take this guy out, do I and what's my risk? Mm-hmm. And he said, the one thing that most people that end up taking someone out have to deal with is the fact that you're going to kill somebody. Mm-hmm. And, my response was, but if I could save one person, 100 people, 20 people, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. If I knew I could.
Yeah.
But I went home, I was telling my wife, and my daughters are there. And I'm like, girls, what would you do? Because they train them in school now. Now it's like, you got a fire drill,
right? But
now they're teaching them how to hide, where to hide, how to secure the room. And they were like, no, Dad, you do, and they just rattled it off. And I was like happy, and this really sucks all at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I heard some story about kids buying door stoppers at a store, and somebody was asking about, like, oh, is this for, to go in your backpack? And they're like, what are you talking about? And it's like, apparently now that's like a thing. You put a door stopper in a kid's backpack. That way, if they go into somewhere and they're inside of a room, the door opens up in, you can wedge that underneath the door, and they can't get in.
Wow.
So it's like you have that with him as like an extra. And I'm like, it's so insane. Like, have you seen I can't remember who's doing it, but there's somebody who's got a commercial going on.
There's a company that mounts to the floor and it locks in place.
But no, there's somebody right now that's doing a commercial that's kind of like, it's very sad to watch, but they're trying to get it across. I think it has to do with one of the shootings that happened. I'm totally spacing right now. Somebody I don't remember, but the commercial is like showing you the situation with all these kids, and it's like, during an active shooter situation. So they're showing you like these, like there's a girl hiding in the bathroom, and she's literally like, I got this phone so I could stay connected with my mom, and she's feet up inside of the stall, and she says, I love you, Mom, and sends it, and she's crying, and the door opens, and she takes like this deep breath in, and it's just like, and it's multiple situations like that, and you're just like, there's been like a lot of backlash on it, but it's because it's like the way that they're shooting that in the movie in this commercial is very realistic. It hits home, but it's a legitimate thing right now that we're having to deal with and be worried about. That's, you've got 2 daughters in school. I have one that's not even in school yet, but it's stuff that you have to think about.
I've had to personally deal with that.
Have you really?
Yeah, over at Hebron. We had it actually a couple times last year. They apparently had like a false scare. Like it was, the principal forgot to notify, I don't know if it was in the news, but I remember them sending a letter, but the principal had forgotten to notify the staff that they were going to do this drill.
They were doing a drill.
So the kids, like I get chills thinking about this because my daughter was a senior at that time. She's now off to college, but my little one was over, and Hebron has 2 campuses. They have a 9th grade campus and then a high school campus. Well, the kids thought they were actively they were engaging in an active shooter type thing. Like they were freaking out and crying in the classrooms, thinking this was going on. And then find out that it was alarm that nobody was told. Staff was not notified. But then, it was awful. I didn't know about. Yeah, can you imagine this?
No, I had a patient of mine.
I mean, that's good training, but that'll change it.
But that fear.
They had something where that came up, and they thought it was going to happen. So it's
But then my oldest daughter did the first year she was.
So do they have to have counselors come in after that? Because
I don't know. I don't know what happened. I just remember my daughter coming home and telling me about that, and I was so furious. And there was a note that went out, like there was an email that went out afterwards. But I thought, you had 3,500 kids in that school, and you just had that happen. I mean, that's just insane. But even my oldest daughter, they did. She's now off at UNT. She's a senior, and I want to say her junior year of high school. I was in Walmart shopping for something, and she sent me a text, and I get this, and I'm just summing this up, but I get this text that says, "Hey, Mom, I don't want you to worry, but we're on lockdown right now." And I'm like, I get chills when thinking, like, I'm in Walmart, and after shopping, thinking I'm picking up something, and I get this text, and I'm freaking out. And she's like, "But don't try to come get us because they're not going to let us out." And I remember driving down from the Walmart. This was at Park and Toll, going down, and Charles is the road you go down to Hebron, and all these cars are parked because they won't let anybody down there. Like, you can't get down there to get your kid, see anything. Ended up having the SWAT team come down there. I don't remember what happened, but I just know from having, being involved, having first-hand experience, being a parent on the end of that, receiving that call, that,
You got lucky.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think about that every day when even my son's still being there. But even in college, you worry about that too. When college
Could be anywhere.
Exactly.
It could be anywhere.
Exactly.
I mean, I was going into a Walmart at like 10 o'clock at night, and I was in the parking lot.
First mistake.
I know. I'm a night owl, so like I get all my shopping done like late at night. But yeah, I'm walking through the parking lot, and there's a guy sitting in his car with a gun in his hand.
Wow.
And it's like...
And you kept going in. You didn't just like...
I did go in. And I called my parents and I was like, so I might die tonight. Like, I don't know if I was just like
we're out of
feeling
milk,
fancy.
so,
but it's like, it's funny because I've had a couple moments like that in my life where it's like, after the fact you go, I need to have a better plan. Like that should have been... Now, granted, I kind of felt weird about the guy. So like, I don't need to go approach him. But I probably should have called 911 and had somebody... at least have conversation with him, right?
Yeah.
Because, why do you having a gun and you're sitting in the car at 10 o'clock at night outside of Walmart? That's weird, right?
Could have just bought it.
I can't. I don't know if you buy guns at 10 o'clock at night at Walmart.
I think I'd have been back in the car, my car, and gone.
I was about to say,
I think I'd just be gone.
We had friends of ours over in Fort Worth that somebody literally drove up on them. It was some guy's wife and their daughter walking through the neighborhood, and they rolled up and literally grabbed the girl and put her in the car. The wife was trying to get her. They kicked her out of the car. They drove up. They eventually got her. But I had to tell my mother-in-law about that. I was like, because she takes Remy for walks out around their neighborhood, and I'm like, you'd love to think your neighborhood's safe and it's no big deal and it wouldn't be a problem. But I'm like,
you wouldn't want to see
if anyone wants to take her away from you, I'm like, I know that she would put up a fight, but I'm like, are you really going to be able to do anything?
You wouldn't want to see that version of me. Liam Neeson would have nothing.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. If I hear that, I'm like, oh, it's going to be trouble. You won't be. I don't even have any of those sets of skills,
Liam
but I'll
Neeson
figure it out.
Doing a movie about me.
And so to end this podcast on such a really, really light, high note. Right. Sorry, guys.
We learned some cool shit.
This is what happens, though. So what we like to do, obviously, at the end is give you guys a chance to plug into the stuff. If you want them to be able to come find you personally, your podcast, whatever it is, let the people know.
You can take turns. You can do it at the same time and try and talk over each other.
Ready, go.
We've got this figured
Ding,
out.
ding,
We don't
ding.
do that too much anymore.
No.
We get excited sometimes.
Do it,
when we
Jennifer.
talk
I'll let
over.
you.
So
I'll let you do it.
our podcast is Starter Girlz, and you can find us on Instagram at
Girls
Starter
with a
Girlz.
Z.
With the Z, absolutely. I want to say we have a website set up, but we do not yet, and we will. It'll be
But they will.
startergirls.com.
Coming soon.
That's right. And our podcast is actually on Spotify right now and
Awesome.
Castbox, so we will be on iTunes soon.
Nice.
So we're
Gotta
so
wait for that
excited.
approval.
Yes,
Yes,
we do.
exactly.
It's all been submitted
It's going to be
today.
good too because we're going to be doing interviews. We're excited about it. We're going to get some awesome people on there and rock the podcast world.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Anything else?
That's it.
I mean, if you think I'm funny, I guess you can come find me on Amy Lafitte.
Amy's like, don't spare neuter your dog. We're looking for a stud.
Yeah.
Call us first.
That's
You
right.
know
Yes,
somebody.
if you have a Cavalier male
Pimp your dog out.
Pretty
Yeah.
dog.
in a Blenheim color, that would be really great.
That hasn't
You can
been
reach out
fixed.
to
That's
me.
not from
yes,
the puppy
correct.
mill. That,
Correct.
probably
Yeah,
a
all
website.
the correct things. Right?
PimpMyDog.com.
that would be a funny website. You could broker breeding.
Okay, everyone, strap yourselves.
You're in the hot seat.
I'm not in the hot seat.
This might be your final thoughts.
No. Not
Yeah.
just because we
We
switched
did kinda
spots. It
switch
doesn't.
seats.
No. That's
Yeah.
not how this works.
It does today.
Okay, guys, it's time for Scott's final thoughts. Strap yourself in.
Man.
No pressure.
This week, lots of teams lost. The Giants being one of them.
The
Cowboys
Cowboys
being
also
the other.
being another one.
Sorry to all you Cowboys fans. Jason Garrett, hope you get to keep your job at least another 2 weeks. I did this to you last year. I'm sure you guys will pull it together. Brandon certainly hopes so. I could really care less.
We're going to crush the Eagles.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, the Eagles next?
Mhm.
So you're going to be 3-4.
No, 4-3. It's fine. Think what you want.
Man, Eagles are playing pretty strong.
No, they're not. Last week they got crushed.
Did they? So
Yeah.
the Cowboys.
No, we lost by 2. Nice try, though.
Is this going to be the toilet bowl next week?
No. See, the guy that knows nothing about football is trying to sit over here and school me. Nice try. See, it's another thing. Coffee, football, bring
I
it.
was
What
gonna
else you
say, We
got?
got a lot of schooling today.
Right?
That's right.
You're going
We
to
needed
get
the
a Don't Be
cards
So
there.
Brewed degree. You'll be
Welcome to the school of Don't Be So
We're gonna have the,
Brewed.
Don't Be So Brewed degree program.
Is that all you got? I'll let you have a
Yeah,
zinger.
I got no zingers. That is
Zimmy
the
has no
problem.
zingers.
No Zimmy zingers tonight.
I'm Dr. Brandon Brown, and I approve this message.
Phenomena. Phenomena. Phenomena.